there was a young girl. She came, she was a British girl. She still is alive, I'm not taking her name. And she came when she was 18 years old. And she was working in a military office in Shimla, a hill station not too far from the Dera. And with a colonel who was her boss, who became a disciple, she came with that colonel to the Dera and met the great master. And she was a very pretty girl. I was a teenager also. You know how teenagers look at girls. So I had that little eye, like same eye. So when the satsang was taking place, I was sitting on one side. She was looking at the master. And I was looking at her. Because she was very pretty, you see. And I said, maybe when I look at somebody, somehow I find after a while they turn to see. There's something that makes you feel that somebody is looking at you, even if you're not in direct vision. I said, maybe she'll turn around and we have a glance-to-glance meeting at least. She was a pretty girl. And so I waited and waited, and the whole satsang finished, and she never turned. She was looking, which impressed me so much, that here is a girl who doesn't understand the language. The great master is speaking in Punjabi. She doesn't understand Punjabi. She is an English girl. So her mother tongue is English. She speaks only English. And she's looking as if she is understanding everything. She's looking with some smile and at the face of the master, like something extraordinary was happening to her. Anyway, later on, I did get a chance to see her. And she spent some time in the Dera and then went back and wrote a letter. She wrote a letter to Great Master. And at that time, as you might have noticed, that many of the letters that you saw, you printed from 1911 to 1939. This is about the 1939 period, close to that, little earlier than that. At that time, Master had a number of people who helped him in writing replies because the number of correspondence was increasing. So my grandfather, Vishwandas Puri, was one of the Sevadars who used to write letters in English. Some wrote in English, some in Urdu. Master himself sometimes wrote letters in Urdu. I had some letters directly written by him in Urdu, in that native language, which is written on the Arabic side from right to left. But my grandfather told me, he said, a letter has come from that girl. You remember she came? I said, yes, I remember her face very well. A letter has come, I want to give you a copy of it. And one day, you'll see the significance of it. So I took the letter, I read it. Many years later, I've shown it to some of my friends also, that letter. In that letter, she says that she got a lot more by seeing him than she thought she would, and so on. Then she says, in bhajan, in meditation, I made some progress. I made a progress, I went up to the astral plane. I didn't want to go any further. I am so fond of art and beauty, and there was so much of it. I must have tarried for a very long time, and but for you, I would never have moved up. She writes in that letter. It was only you who were able to keep on telling me, edging me on. For me, that was the ultimate, what I got. But you edged me on in your radiant form, and then I was able to move to the next stage. And Master, now I'm near the great void, and I know only you can take me through that. Beautiful letter, 2-page letter, and I read it. And at that time I was just overwhelmed by the fact that a girl from another country can come and pick up something, and we people are sitting around a Master for years and years, and we get nothing out of it. What is this? What system works? How is this pick and choose done? That some people can make such good progress and some take so long. There must be some reason. In fact, I asked Great Master. I said, Master, I notice that some people come to you and they make such rapid progress, including that girl, whose name I knew and told him. He said, it is not. Nobody goes fast. They have done work in a previous life. They have done the same things you may be trying now or other people are trying now. We don't know how much background of work, spiritual work they have brought with them and how much they have done. So she was not getting everything just from her one visit here. She was getting because she had been initiated earlier. she had done a lot of meditation in the past. So he mentioned a few other names who had made great progress right there, even without knowing that they had experience from the past. The point I was trying to make right now is that the astral plane itself can contain scenes which look like your research Sachkhand. And they are so attractive. People can go and feel they've gone to further enlightenment. They've woken up again and again and again, just while in the astral plane. So this is it's a very beautiful place. It's great. But what if Master edges you on, which he will, because he wants you to go beyond the mind. He doesn't want you even to stay in the causal plane. The causal plane being the mind's own plane. Mind is the causal body. If he pushes you to the causal plane, the scene is totally different. The astral plane is so much like this one. We recognize people. Disembodied souls can be sitting up in the astral plane or down in the sub-astral plane. They run around in this physical plane, disembodied, unseen by us. There's so much connection between them. But when it comes to the causal plane, the connection with the physical breaks completely. There is no form. Living things have no forms as we know it. Now, what is the form of a soul if it wants to be embodied in the mental causal plane? What form does it take? You know, it can take the form, which is very difficult to explain, but I'll try. It takes the form of a pattern, of a figure. What about a triangle? What's a triangle? We just draw a line. A triangle is the capacity of consciousness to take on three sides. It is not any triangle. It's not a small or a big triangle. That concept of a triangle creates all triangles in the astral and the physical plane. It's just one. And that one triangle is not a form. It's a form with a soul in it, just like our souls in our physical bodies. All the patterns and forms, numbers. What about number? I was very shocked to find that numbers can have souls. That a number. Now, what is a number? What is number 2? Let's say 2 is whatever can be made twice. It's not a written number like this or like this. It's not written like this. It's the capacity of consciousness to double up what it likes or triple. These are the numbers. And these numbers float around there, and those are the embodiments of souls. How can you describe the causal plane? Here we want to talk like everything is a physical plane, like we are souls and with bodies like these. That ends at the astral plane. What happens? We think this is the end. There can be nothing more. Nobody, no individual can think there can be anything beyond that. We come to the knowledge of our mind, the thinking mind, having reached its limit, and we see that the mind was only a little individuated form of the mind that generates the whole causal region. That the universal mind, as they call it, we are just part of that. Our mind was never separated from it. It operated from there, even in the physical world. It's very difficult to conceive that an experience is possible in meditation where you can reach that point, where you can discover that the mind which you thought was so individualized, and you're sitting with your individual soul, and you are practicing and looking at it in meditation, and in the astral plane it remains separate with this, is really just participating in a process that is thinking, creating, all this being done there. It functions like a real creator there. Even the highest mystics, who were not perfect living mystics, ended there and thought this is the end of the creation. That's the creator. There can be no creator. Because the whole concept that creation must take place in space and time stops us there. We assume it. We assume if you create, there has to be space. Otherwise, how would we create? Without space and time, you don't experience anything. Nobody knows that you can, except perfect living masters who go beyond the mind. So the causal stage is totally different from the experiences in the first two stages. But the master in his form, in the same form you are in, which is a unique form. It's the form that carries entire memories of the entire package of different life forms in the physical and the astral that you ever took. You have them all there. That's your form. The form and your memory includes everything that has ever happened or will happen if you continue. So the master said, leave it aside. Why do you want to continue in a series of births of different kinds, experiences of different kinds in the physical plane and in the astral plane? Why do that? Let's move on. But master, there's no place to move on. The place ends here. There's no such thing as place, which is true. But the master still, because he's not coming from there. He's a perfect living master. He has crossed that stage himself. And he knows how to cross that stage again. And he wants to take us with us because he made a commitment. Initiation by a perfect living master means a commitment to take us beyond that. And he is bound to do it, and he always does it. Where does he take us then after that? He takes us to a place where we discover we were never the mind at all. It was totally a different attachment given to consciousness. And we leave it, and we are pure soul. First time we realize who we are. We had no idea till then who we were. That we are the creative power sitting in a spaceless sea, in a timeless moment of eternity. In one moment we have captured all eternity, from where we can create eternities whenever we like. We can create spaces and universes whenever we like in our own consciousness. And yet we still have the power to love, because the master is still individuated within us, and we can still have the experience of one and the two at the same time. That's a beautiful experience. And nothing is holding us together with the master except pure love. The love of which the reflection was seen by us in a very small way, the physical world. We saw just a little reflection of that love, and we see its purity at that time. The master says, this is not the end of the journey. Where else can we go? There's nothing else. That we found the truth. We found that we are consciousness. We found the master is part of us, the same consciousness. Where else can we go? He says, we are still created for this kind of experience of two and one in love. The truth is that one alone contains everything. And we move out to Sachkhand, our true home, where we are always one with the one. We are never separated. But in that Sachkhand state, at the same time, now this is not in this time and space like we understand there's a big place, a small place. This is all pure consciousness. In pure consciousness, we can have the experience of 1, 2 million, 20 million, billions, trillions, one, all the time, at the same time. There's only one time. There's no time, in fact, that experience. It's completely indescribable in any human language here. I'm still trying to describe it. So you can see my shortcoming, my problem. I have a very big problem in trying to describe something that is totally indescribable. There are great mystics who have tried to describe it. Swami Ji, who set up the Radha Swami faith in Agra, and then the descendants, great master was one of the line of descendants following that teaching. Swami Ji says in Sachkhand, there are beautiful trees. I don't know how he said so. That he had beautiful trees there, very tall, 1 mile, 2 mile high trees, laden with rubies and diamonds. And all he was trying to say, it's wonderful. And all the women attended his satsangs, They were very popular because he talked of rubies and diamonds on those trees. And yet at the same time he says it cannot be explained.